Hi, ladies and gentlemen. So glad to be able to come to you at this moment in time. I'm a little bit back in my old hometown, that nurturing ground. And it's a good place to be because the message that I try to bring to thee is one always of the beginning, the proper beginning that leads through out to life just fine. And if there is to be an ending, it's just fine. So, what I want to really talk about is that the world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you respect education. You say you do. So I'm not just speaking from the cuff, but I'm speaking some exposed educational stuff. And at the same time, stuff that's basically real. And to me, that's the pure stuff. But this world that we're living in, I know we think about it every day, wondering why things are the way they are and what can happen and what will happen and why it's taking so long to happen that we fix this thing. And the big problem, as far as that happening, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are always looking for somebody else to fix it. We doubt ourselves, even to the extent that we play any role in fixing what we might think needs fixing. But the truth of the matter is that it's not going to happen for any of us unless all of us. But it starts with one of us. And I don't mind being that part. But what I'm asking you to understand is this: everything that we as people are, we've been taught. Some of us are black niggers. And when I use the term niggers, I'm talking about anybody that's separate from God or see themselves as being separate from God. For so many reasons, white niggers can't stand them. And what are white niggers? White niggers, what people might want to call trailer trash. The black niggers, they want to say those that live in the ghetto. But you really want to say that all black people are niggers. And you want to say that all white people are niggers. Why? Because they're separate from God. What do you mean they're separate from God? Look at the world we live in. We have those things that call haves and have nots. You know what that means? That's almost like Republican and Democrat. Or black and white. Have and have nots. And the system is predicated on something like that. And so everybody fights to maintain their particular survival, a survival that's built on the suffering of others. You see, at one time, well, let's just put it this way: the resources of the earth that you all need, that everybody needs to survive, have been stolen by those who got their names on them. They ain't told you they stole them. And then they got other investors in it who play a part in the stealing. They get a portion of the benefits, the rewards of messing over people. That's the world we live in that provides for the haves. And a little bit goes to the have nots because they use the have nots to work it. They're the laborers, they're the ones that got to go do all the work. That's part of it. But in that system operation, you have reasons that people end up suffering. And with that suffering comes a lot of pain. And people feel that they want to get rid of it the best way they can. And they know where they're suffering. They're suffering in that they have to respond to. And we all know it. They what? Steal, they rob, they lie, they cheat, and they suffer crime and violence. This poverty. All of these things exist because of we, all of us, all over the globe, are following the dictates of people who have no understanding whatsoever or desire whatsoever to bring peace and prosperity to the nation. They are using everything and everyone for their aim, but they allow enough goodness to exist within so that it makes it easier for you to be deceived and fooled. Yeah, that's the way it always is. That's the game that's being played. They give you enough of the truth just to hold you, make you think, because, oh yeah, that's truthful. Yep, that's the world we live in. But, ladies and gentlemen, that brings about wars. There have been millions and millions of those who have been slaughtered by even their own governments to protect authority that they have. in my lifetime, one of the greatest men that ever lived. And I say greatest because there are many great men. But the greatest, the one that I've known, and I'm talking about known, was Dr. Martin Luther King. I don't even know of I just don't know of any other great men like that in America. And they want to deny that he ever did anything good, existed if they could hide it, say that what he stood for and represented and is known for never existed. We see that. And what does that tell us? That tells us that that's not new. And so all of the stuff, basically, that we have been taught to believe in and understand is contaminated. But I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, you already know this. You know that. But what you don't know is the solution to the problems. You see, every human being on earth was made to require, just through being made by the right stuff, peace and prosperity and freedom and joy and happiness. And the dreams that they used to have, now they're living them. Human beings were made to live like that. They never suffered for food or clothing, or shelter, or education, or health care, or transportation, or infrastructure, or spaceships, or flying cars. That magic they had and still have, they just don't know it. And my friends, this is the way you, I, all of us were made to live. And none of you will believe it. You cannot accept what I just said as being truth because you've been taught the other stuff. Even in the Bible, you were taught that the figure of Christ and even of God was a nappy head, colored man. That's what they described to you. But they made sure you never understood that because they put a picture in there. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So if you look in there and see a picture of what Jesus looked like, then you got to go back and find some way to alter those words and make those words line up with the picture. So that doesn't make any sense unless you understand what it's really saying. You're being planted. You're being misled. You're being deceived. And so you don't do that. Now, how can this beautiful heavenly thing that I just explained, could it happen? It's simple. You see, you remember when, well, I won't go there. The way you explain this is this. Everyone benefits from what I just got through describing. It was made for every human being. You either benefited from it or you didn't. If you walk in the path of righteousness, there's no way you can miss it. If you walk in being led by blindness and stupid dictates of men, you're going to miss it. Many of you are going to miss it. But the truth of it is that you were designed so that you could participate in the process of creating. You know, you're not a leech. You are an inventor. You engage your hands in the process of everything that comes out in that reservoir of goods and services. You as a people responsible for all of that. And every last one of you become part owners in all of that so that you could access it at your need, at your want, at your desire. And nobody to tell you otherwise. Why? Because you're boss as well. Now ain't that something? Now that takes away the animosity. That takes away the envy, the hate, the racism, the bigotry. That takes away the reason for fear and intimidation and war. You just eliminate it. Why? Because everybody's satisfied. But now you can't believe that. Why? Because you were taught that you can only experience that when you die and go someplace else. They tell you it can't happen in the world. And by telling you it can't happen in the world, then you refuse to participate. Now they locked you in. When it does, when you can't go any place until you make the first step. So it takes people to establish what needs to be used in this process. But it begins with the first one. And if it ends with the first one, let it be known that you were that one that stood up. It's not being biased or racist, but you just allowed the spirit that was real in you to express itself. And it just happened that it was you. And that's 8 billion of you. Okay? Until next time, Eddie Marcus saying, the way the world is. Goodbye.